Is a family retreat worth the time and the money for you? Or is traditional travel more your speed? So, first question, ask yourself, when was the last time your whole family rested at the same time, including you? And number two, are you looking for a different experience than the norm? Are you looking for something that has a slower pace, that has deeper connections, that has more of a holistic approach to your wellness, your well being, and your family system as a whole? Welcome back to another episode. I'm Monica Verga Alborno, and this is the Wand Her Wild podcast, a space for modern mothers reclaiming their wild, living with intention, and redefining what it means to feel fulfilled while raising a family. Here we explore mindful motherhood, conscious parenting, feminine rhythms, and the power of self-discovery. Guided by curiosity, we share honest stories, soulful conversations, and actionable steps you can weave into your full, everyday lives. Hey, before we get started, I want to share a kind of a cool milestone that we hit this month. So we are now a top 10% globally listened to podcast, which it's just been over a year since this whole thing started. So that's exciting. We're internally celebrating, and I just want to extend a thank you to you for listening and just supporting us. And if you do have just a minute of your time, leaving us a review or a rating, that really helps so much for more families out there to learn about what Wander Wild is doing and discover our podcast. So thanks so much if you could do that. And now I want to hop into what we're going to talk about today. We're really going to talk about an honest conversation, whether a family retreat is worth paying for or not. And maybe I'm a little bit biased, right? But I will be very honest with the reasons why it may or may not be worth it. All right. So I want to kind of get started with some context, how the seeds of family retreats got so important to me to offer out there. And that really was my initial travel experience, like a traditional travel experience, what it was. If you are anything like how I have been in the past, I was in a very high performance, high stress role um, most of my career. And I want to take it back to 2016, 2017, about a decade ago now, in sub Saharan Africa. I was managing operations across 26 countries. I had access to, the money, the travel perks to go anywhere and do anything in the world when I fought for the vacation days to do it. And I did it, right? I stayed at some of the most exclusive and expensive hotels in the world, resorts, experiences, whatever you can think of. I have most likely tried it. But there was something that I started discovering. It's like when I went from all of this noise, all of this craziness, it was like just shutting it off didn't really feel so great in a traditional travel sense, right? We're just leaving our crazy job that we're doing every single day where there's so much spinning around. And that high performance setting where you just have all these things that you're doing and you're constantly going until you sleep and then wake up again. And then getting on a plane and going somewhere and just kind of sitting and sipping cocktails didn't really sit right with me. I was feeling really restless. And honestly, like just the silence was really uncomfortable. And I would try and find things to distract myself. It was like checking emails or numbing myself with drinking alcohol, or really just packing my itinerary with a million things so that I just kept busy the whole time and then just went back to busy again at work. So there was this big kind of like fluctuation of going from work to doing really not much of anything. And traditional vacation just wasn't really feeling, I don't know, it just wasn't really feeling fulfilling. It wasn't feeling like it was doing what it's meant to do. And I think when I became a mother, this really went into overdrive, right? Because I didn't just have the corporate job anymore. I also had all of the inner chatter of the mental load and all the things that you hear people talking about recently. Mental load is a big subject recently, that come with being a mom, just all the extra things that we're doing in our home for our kids, the worries that we have, whatever it might be, plus all the other things. So fast forward, that was something that really got me started and pushed me to create Wander Wild. I really wanted a space to honor a gentler pace, deeper connections, community, and the kind of care that I really wish I had had back then, a decade ago when I was traveling with just my husband at the time, but also in those early months when I first became a parent. And so, yeah, it really took me years to understand that rest doesn't necessarily come from just changing your location. It actually comes with changing the experience itself. And yeah, and that's why I wanted to have an honest conversation today about why a family retreat um, is probably worth paying for because it's different, right? It's a completely different experience than traditional vacation. And I want to explain some reasons why. So if these are touching with you and you're like, yes, I get that, then this is for you. And if not, then traditional travel might be right for you. So the first thing is that traditional vacations don't restore moms. At least I don't think so. What I was touching on in the beginning is that when you are experiencing that adrenaline, everything on your plate, and then you go to stillness, it doesn't quite work, right? You you still have all these things swirling around and it's hard to just like shut it off. That's not exactly how our bodies work, right? We need some rhythms, we need some check-ins, we need some like tapering off of things. And also to probably be a bit more regulated before we even go on the travel itself, right? And unfortunately for moms, we usually are the ones who are planning the trip too, right? We're responsible for everything and we end up being the one who's quote unquote blamed when things maybe don't go as planned or it's not the right experience that we thought it was going to be. All those things still end up falling on mom most of the time, right? So you're going from adrenaline to stillness doesn't quite work in the way that we regulate our bodies and the way that we also are processing things in our mind, and we still are also carrying so much of that mental load when we're heading out on a holiday. And so there's also a lot of sensory overload when you think about a traditional vacation, like cruises, all inclusive resorts. City breaks are huge, right? Like take your kids to Paris, take your kids to London. These are very like sensory overload, like overstimulation type places, right? Where there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of things happening. And like I was touching on, you have to be planning out all this stuff for your family, and if you're using travel to escape the mental load, it's really only bringing it along with you because you're still having to take care of your kids. You're still having to, support the plans of the day, how the day is going to unfold. What is everybody going to eat? Where are we going to stay? Is everyone happy? Does everyone have a clean diaper? Are there a change of clothes? We have sunscreen. The list goes on, right? Do we have a car seat? Da, da, da. So there's so many things, right, that you have to do when you're planning travel. And then the other thing I would also say about this is that I'm sure you have heard this or said this yourself. And I hear this all the time from people in our community, but also friends, that traveling, going on a vacation just feels like you're parenting in another city, right? And that's not really what it should feel like. And also going into this, why I feel like traditional vacations don't restore moms is that a lot of times we end up doing kind of like this idea of rage booking where we're just booking something because we're like, we need to do something. I need a break. I really need a vacation. And you end up booking something, or you end up booking something that maybe is just on like a bucket list travel type thing because you saw it somewhere and it's not really fully aligned. It's more of like a pressure thing or a gimmicks thing. And it's not really fully aligned with what you want. You're not really asking yourself, what do I really, really want for me and my family? And a lot of us fall into that, right? And then we end up in these vacations that are just packed with way too many things. They leave really little room for spontaneity and stillness. And we're just, again, using travel thinking that it's going to be an escape from all the busyness that we have at home. But we haven't really set ourselves up for success on the trip itself because there aren't a lot of support systems in place with most traditional travel vacations. And so I want to share what has been actually restorative for me because the way that our family retreats were designed, the seeds of that, the way that it really has been unfolding is from my own experience with what I was talking on. I it took me a really long time to really actually find joy and restoration when I was traveling. And really feel like it was lighting me up and doing something for my own inner, yeah, I guess my own inner self really, because I have a strong belief that travel is something that really fills our soul. Fuels our soul? Yeah. I have a strong belief that travel is what fuels our soul. So what I've actually discovered as restorative is about a decade ago, I started traveling differently. I started just booking a destination with a car and a flight and just figuring it out when we got there. So, for example, my husband and I flew to Sardinia, a small island off the coast of Italy. We rented a car and we just drove around the island and saw where it took us without any plans. It was incredible. We rented a cottage in the countryside of Ireland with 10 of my family members one year. And we just all got together in the cottage. We were just exploring near the seaside, and we would go to castles and just really spend time together playing board games at night and watching the stars, walking through the rain and going to local pubs. Like it was just so fun to spend time together and connect in a way that felt more connected to the location itself because we just stayed in a local Airbnb, a little cottage, and really had that spaciousness to be with one another. And another trip I took was a holistic wellness retreat in Ibiza, Spain, where I just stayed for a week in a retreat that was a holistic wellness approach to the way that we live our life. And that was also like so life changing for me. And so these couple examples are all experiences that I've had, all travel that I've done. There's many, many more of them. But they just started to show me that there's another way. There's another way to travel. And these just felt so much more, they just felt deeper. They felt like they were really lighting me up. They were really connecting me deeper with the people that I love. And so all of these experiences are experiences that I actually had, and they really were so much more enriching. So I knew when Wander Wild was created, these lived experiences had to be infused into our family retreat experience. And some of those things are what I was touching on, just nature and a slowness, family time to just be without any agenda. And I actually deeply believe that the most adventurous travel you're going to have is the one without any plan, the one where you just are spontaneous and figuring out as you go. Having new experiences together, having nature at your doorstep, and also having kids in a position where they can just go outside, they can be self led. It can really enable them to have authentic connections and discover in a way that isn't determined for them, that doesn't have too many boxes around it, right? They have more freedom to just discover and be curious. Community and sharing circles. This is something I was touching on, like my family sharing meals, sharing stories, just being together, very fully present. And again, something I deeply believe in is that community is really the natural medicine for maternal health. And having a personalized, all inclusive support, as I touched on, I have stayed at a lot of really luxurious properties and places throughout my life that I've had the honor and the privilege of being able to stay at. And something that I've pulled from that is that really personalized service and support. And we're just taking it another level because this is like having a butler mom who really knows you well and cares, that's relatable, that knows your name, knows your kids, knows everything that you might need, and is open to helping in whatever way, right? I knew that had to be part of it. And earth to table meals that are nourishing, um, picky eating, kid friendly, I guess I should say. And that really reduces the decision fatigue, right? One of the decisions that we feel like we have to have all the time. What are we all going to eat? And And lastly, yeah, having nature-based childcare, reducing that mental load and bringing balance to self-care time. Another important piece of this is wellness for dads. Our retreats have generally been for moms and kids, but a family retreat is also an incredible opportunity for mainstream dads, because I say it's so open for any dad who really needs to be held. Because if you have a partner that's a male, you know how important it is in the family dynamics to have a healthy father. And that really creates a healthier family system. And fathers can feel a lot. They can have a lot of heaviness to them. They have to hold a lot. And it's not talked enough about, right? So giving them an easy entry point to being able to experience some wellness for themselves um, is also incredible, right? So I am really convincing you here, I hope. Uh, so why family retreats are worth paying for? These are the reasons, and I wrote these down because I feel so deeply about them. So retreats remove every barrier standing between a parent and true rest. Parents don't have to choose between self-care and togetherness. Wander Wild retreats were built from what I actually discovered to be the most fulfilling after traveling to over 80 countries around the world. And this isn't luxury, it's everything travel should be. It's restorative, it's community, it's wild nature, it's discovering new things, and it's coming back to yourself. When you add up the value of a family retreat experience, it's not only far surpassing other luxury resort stays, but it's amenities and personalization that's also setting your family up for strong long-term relationships. And I don't know about you, but I know that I'm going to know my kids as adults longer than I will as little children in my home. And I want them to choose to spend time with me when they get older. I think about this so often. And I want to have to continue having those shared experiences together and to have them choose to go and explore the world with me. And that really starts with creating these bonds and of what we're doing in our family retreats. And so, some closing reflection questions. I have 2 questions for you. Um, and this is really to figure out, yeah, is a family retreat worth the time and the money for you? Or is traditional travel more your speed? So, first question, ask yourself, when was the last time your whole family rested at the same time, including you? And number 2, are you looking for a different experience than the norm? Are you looking for something that has a slower pace, that has deeper connections, that has more of a holistic approach to your wellness, your well being, and your family system as a whole? Okay, so if you are interested in reimagining what your family vacation could be, and you feel like 2026 is your year to come to a retreat, I invite you to learn more about the ones we're offering. We have a winter mother and child retreat, February 14th through the 17th in Hudson Valley, New York. And we also have a spring family retreat, April 3rd through the 6th, in Wild, Florida, in Sebastian, Florida, about an hour from Orlando, where the whole family is invited. And if you have questions, I will answer them. It's me there. If you message me in DMs on Instagram, you can send me an email, or we can also set up a connection call to talk more. And I also want to let you know that we will be running a Black Week offer of 5% off all of our 2026 retreats, so up to $300 in savings. So make sure you're on our email list to get all the details of how to get those savings and the dates that it's running. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today and listening along. I hope to see you at a retreat coming up in the next few months, or if not, in one of our virtual events that we have in a creative co-working call or cacao circle in our virtual community. As a reminder, you can join anytime to that. It's only $7 a month, which is such an incredible deal. And it's a really good way to just put in your calendar that once a month you're carving out an hour of time to show up with some other moms from the comfort of your home or your workspace and just talk about a couple things. Just talk about life, talk about some things that are going to really support us to move through the month ahead and inspire us and just get back to those creative parts of ourselves. All right.